All right, let's do a little get ready with me because it's Friday and we have lots to do, so let's do this. I feel like all day yesterday I had client calls and everyone was going through the same thing. Everyone was dealing with like a breakup, or whether it was like months ago or just recently, and they were either still thinking about that last person or they were just bored. Here's the thing, you are always going to resort back to the last person that you were with because that was the last person you were with. It doesn't always necessarily mean anything. Sometimes we put like way too much meaning on why we're thinking about someone. A lot of the times too, it just becomes like an obsessive thought that you have where your mind just like defaults back to this person. When you're going through transitional periods, it's really important, whether you initiated the transition, whether it's a good one or a bad one, that you learn to focus on yourself. The good part about isolation and having to like be by yourself again is, if you choose to, you actually dive into the work to really learn how to take care of yourself. Because guess what? When there's no one else around, no one or nothing to really distract you, you're kind of left to your own devices, and that can really freak people out sometimes. And this is where they'll jump into another relationship, or they'll just like suppress what they think or how they're feeling, and that can only last for so long. So eventually that stuff's going to come back up to the surface. So it is absolutely necessary. And look, if you watch these kind of videos, or if you gravitate towards like self-development, you are not a person that's going to be able to suppress for too long, because it's just not your nature. There are just some people that, whether you want to call them like old souls or whatever, that they just can't like deny like how they feel. So the good news is, if you do the work, then you won't really be suffering. You'll actually learn how to be a healthy human being, and you want to learn how to be a healthy human being so you can attract a really great relationship. However healthy you are is going to determine your standard and the bar that people meet you at. But if you don't do any of the work, and look, we all have times in our life where we think we're doing all of this work on ourselves, and then we resort back to, or we default to like the same relationships, the same people over and over again. And that usually happens because we're not really actually doing any work on ourselves. We're just mirroring self-development, or we're just like putting our toe into doing some of the work, but we're actually not learning how to parent ourselves and take care of ourselves and monitor that inner conversation. When you're going through transitional periods, there's a period where you kind of are in limbo. Like you're not who you used to be, but you're definitely not yet where you want to be. And it can be a really crappy place to kind of sit in for a second, but we've all been there, and it's actually a part of the process. What it's doing is it's getting you so incredibly frustrated, I guess, where you start to want to actually make a move. So what I was telling one of my clients yesterday is, I was like, look, you have to look at it this way. When you're in limbo and you're kind of like stuck for a second, this is the period where you're supposed to get back to like the simplistic things in life that actually bring you joy. This is where you're trying to learn how to like reconnect with who you are and what it is that you need in order to feel good. And those things are always the simplest things. So when you start parenting yourself, you start learning how to kind of slow down and say, all right, look, what do I need today in order to just like feel absolutely amazing? Do I need to sit outside and have like a cup of tea and just look at the trees? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to be with friends? Do I need to take a nap? And giving yourself all of the things that you need in order to feel good. As you start to do that long enough, you actually start to feel really better. You start to have energy, and that energy and that momentum will kind of jolt you to have the motivation to start really getting out of your comfort zone. So if you're in like a little bit of a funk or like this limbo period where you're like, look, I know I'm not the old me, but I'm not yet where I want to be, and I don't have the things that I want to have yet, that's because this is your time you're supposed to be self-indulging in simplistic things and getting back to you. This is actually your selfish period, but you're trying to move too quickly into like the next phase that you haven't actually taken the time to stop and pause and rest and just pour into you. Now, if you don't do that and you're not careful, you are going to resort back to your old ways. You're going to start attracting the same people over and over again, because guess what? you haven't done any of the work. You actually haven't kind of stopped and paused, poured into yourself so you can actually overcome some of the things that you've been through and learn the lessons that you were supposed to learn. The lessons that you're supposed to learn is not just about educating yourself on different type of personalities and saying, oh, this person's narcissistic and oh, I'm codependent and this is what happened to me like years ago. You're supposed to learn how to actually love yourself. You're supposed to learn how to slow down and be healthy and parent yourself and talk yourself off the ledge and not make situations worse by scaring yourself. All those things sound like really simple things, but they're very hard to do because you've been programmed in a certain way to operate mentally and emotionally the way that you do. And the way that you operate is all based on your wounds. When you start working on yourself and you're really learning how to parent yourself, you realize just how dysfunctional you have been in life. We're always trying to go to like the next phase of our life. We always like want the thing that we want, and we don't like to sit sometimes and pause and give ourselves that rest period where we can fully like pour into ourselves. But I'm telling you, if you do not do this, you are going to stay stuck. You're going to repeat patterns. You're going to keep all of the same wounds and triggers and fears and insecurities that you've always had. You're always going to be codependent. You're never going to really learn how to be healthy, which means you're not becoming who you need to be to have all the things that you say you want to have. So I know it sucks to have to wait, basically, but while you are waiting, make sure you're doing the work. So look, I know all you want to do right now is just default to like old ways and like just do you and not like put any work into this. But I promise you, if you actually do the work, like take this time right now, you have absolutely no distractions, invest in yourself, do the courses, hire whoever, go to that seminar, do that retreat, like do whatever it is that gravitates towards you, because guess what? You're never going to have this time in your life to be able to start again, start from scratch, and really learn how to set goals and work on yourself. Like, I promise you, this is the only time in your life where you're going to have these like significant period for you to actually do this work. And then once you do the work, it's done. Like, you've learned the lesson, you've done the work, you know what it is that you need to know in order to get what you want. And like, that's what you want. You don't want to go through a period and like waste that period not learning what you're supposed to be learning. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed this little get ready with me. I'm going to actually start my day. Hope you guys are well, and I'll see you later.